Good afternoon to everyone. Myself Rinku Barman. I am working as an assistant chemist in Central Groundwater Board, and basically I am working in the regional chemical laboratory of the office. So I am going to briefly discuss about the development of water quality management plan for source water. So it's a huge topic. So I'm not going to further divide it into further depending on the sources, different sources. So basic motto of the development of water quality is to ensure that the water is safe, it is sustainable, and the water system is resilient. So first, if we say source water, what we understand, it is either river, lakes, reservoir, or aquifer. But why it is important? Source of water. So if we say source of water, there are two types of source of water. One is groundwater, one is surface water. So if I say which one is much more vulnerable to contamination, so can you surface water? Why? Yeah, and which is much more difficult if it get contaminated. It is difficult to treat. Which one is more difficult? Groundwater. So based on this, we have to plan different management plan. That's why I said if source of water, it has to be different type, two types, groundwater or surface water. Now the challenges to manage this source of water, there are many challenges. If we point out some, if you can point out some challenges that has to be we have to take care of while going for the development and management of the water. So there are many challenges, but if you can point some of these main challenges that we have to encounter while going for the management and development of the water quality. So you can name some of the topics that are the challenges we have to face while going for the development and management. So there are many like urbanization, industrialization, or urbanization. So there are many topics that comes under the challenges we are. Even climate changes is also one of the challenges that we have to encounter while going for the development and management of the source water. Now why it is relevant to go for the management and development? So basically, as I have already mentioned here, the public health, then the environment and the economy. So if I say environment, how can it affect the environment? So suppose the water body get contaminated with the nitrate, so there is a process called eutrophication, if you have heard about this. So because of this eutrophication, the oxygen does not get dissolved oxygen, much more dissolved oxygen into water body, resulting in the death of the fishes and most of the aquatic elements, which result in the degradation of the water quality of the aquatic lives. And the third one is the economy. So how it is affecting our economy? Can anyone add some points on how it is going to affect our economy if we are not going to manage or develop the source water? So see, we are mentioning public health. So if someone get bad health, then they have to go for medical and all those. Then we have to procure much more advanced instrument to identify and detect those health issues. Then we have to treat that by procuring patent and all this to manufacture all the drugs, and that's how it is affecting our economy also. Now the main objective of water quality management plan is to ensure that the water is safe for drinking, and second one is to protect the aquatic life. And to do all this, we need a regulatory body which can maintain all this, that the water is safe, and so that they can put some do's and don'ts to the authorities. And last one is so that if we manage a plan or develop a plan, it is sustainable, it is available to our future. We have to have a management plan that can address these issues also. Now if we are saying about the source of water development, management of the source of water, we have to address these points also. So the main points are the point source. These are the contamination. They are either chemical, industrial, agriculture, everything. So there are three types of sources: point source, non-point source, and natural factor. The point source are the industrial discharge, wastewater treatment plant. These are the point sources. Why we are calling it point source? Because it's confined to only a single point from where we are getting the contamination. And then the non-point source. This is the non-point source because if we go for agriculture, we are using pesticides and all those stuff. So this is not point source. It is distributed everywhere. So this is the non-point source. Then urban storm water, and then natural factor. So natural factor we cannot control, but we can monitor these factors while going for the development and developing a management plan. Then for going for the framework for the management, water quality management, we have to address these issues also, the risk-based approach. So how can we assess the risk? So there are many statistical data. If we use our water quality analysis data and other pollution census data, we can assess the risk of a particular area, based on which we can frame a management plan to have a better future of sustainable development. Then the watershed level planning. If we say water level, we are not confined to boundaries, state boundary or country boundary. It is watershed means we have to go beyond boundary to manage the watershed, so that this management plan is much more effective. And then the last one is integration of regulatory, scientific and community perspectives also. So here we have to integrate, we have a holistic development if all these three entities comes together. Then these are the, I have already told you that there should be some regulatory body based on which we can develop our management plan. So these are the regulatory bodies. So first one is WHO, World Health Organization, which is an international body. So we have some permissible limits, as Gopal sir has already discussed, the permissible limit for every parameter, not for drinking purpose, even for irrigation we have some permissible limits based on which we have to develop a management plan. But here there is one issue, that if we refer the World Health Organization guideline, there are some issues, because these are the parameters which are state specific, means one country might have this effect, health effect, one country might not have that effect because of this permissible limit. So we have a national standards like EPA. So EPA, BIS, European Union directives, like these are the national standards this to maintain the water quality management on the national levels. And then the third one is the local water authority regulation. If we say local water authority regulations, so can you name some of the local authority who manages all these stuffs? We have many local water authority. So here we have Assam Pollution Control Board, like that state government entities which regulates all these stuffs. And then the water quality and monitoring assessment. So I already discussed about the physical parameter, chemical parameter and biological parameter. If we say physical parameter, here comes turbidity, temperature and color. So why we need to assess physical parameter? These are the parameter we normally monitor in the field, in the spot itself. So why it is need to have a physical parameter in the field? So basically what happens, whenever we collect a sample or something from the field, we need to have an idea of the environment where the water is, so that we have a specific idea of the element, existence of this element in different oxidation state, because one element in one oxidation state is harmful, but in another oxidation state this is not harmful. So for that purpose we need to have a clear picture of the environment under which we are collecting the water sample, based on which we have to plan our management plans. And the second one is the chemical parameters. Here pH, DO, nutrients. Nutrients means all the ions, and then heavy metals and pesticides. So these are the parameters we normally analyze in the laboratory. So these are the critical parameters based on which management plan also depend, and the biological parameters are the coliform pathogen and algae. So these are biological parameter we don't do in our laboratories, so we don't have the facility, but CWC manages all these biological parameters. And the last one is the monitoring frequency and sampling design. So while going for the monitoring, we need to have a proper planning, means what should be its frequency, because we have 3 seasons, pre-monsoon, monsoon and post-monsoon. So based on this contamination, sometimes the concentration of contamination gets enhances because of this runoff effect, and sometimes some mineral get dissolved because the water, it is a bit acidic, so it dissolves some of the minerals and it takes into the groundwater. So we need to have a monitoring frequency and sampling design. So sampling design is basically based on what type of method, like already Gopal sir has discussed about alpha method, BIS method, then the instrument we are using. Based on this, we have to design a sampling method so that it has a representative sample which we are going to analyze in the instrument. Then the risk assessment and vulnerability analysis. So hazard indication. So we have some statistical data like HEI. I think you have heard about HEI. This is heavy metal elevation index. Then we have heavy metal pollution index, HPI. So these are the indices we use to identify the hazardness of this element to the human health based on the lifespan of this particular individual. Then exposure analysis. So exposure analysis, basically we have to identify which part of the environment is going to be vulnerable, either it is pollution, ecosystem, which one is, because based on this we have to plan a management plan. And then the vulnerability mapping, this is actually we do in the GIS based tool. So for that we use different layers of this GIS maps and superimpose on one by one. Based on this we identify a vulnerable zone based on this. So I think if you have used GIS based tools, you have heard about drastic model. So these are actually drastic, this is the parameters we are considering, and we use these parameters to superimpose one map over another, and based on this we identify which one is the vulnerable, most vulnerable zone. So here drastic, D for I think depth, then R rainfall, I for infiltration, like that. There are many such model, but drastic model is one of the most popular model we use to have a vulnerability map to assess the vulnerability of this particular area. And these are the prevention and control measures. So this depend upon whether the source is point source, non-point source, or it's geogenic. So source protection zone, this is applicable for point source. If we know that from this point contamination is getting into our water, we have this source protection zone. Then buffer strip and riparian vegetation. This is actually a buffer zone we place so that the contaminant does not get into other water body, or it does not spread over the area. And then sustainable agriculture practices. So right now government of India is focused on mainly this organic farming because of this sustainable agriculture practice. Because if we use this organic method, we are not going to contaminate the water either by runoff or groundwater or surface water. And then wastewater treatment and industrial compliances. Here wastewater treatment, I think most of the industries have that sewage treatment plant, STP, ETP, effluent treatment plant. But they have that plant, but to monitor this plant we need to have a regulatory body so that we can identify whether the industry is complying with the regulatory rules and regulations. Then pollution emerging response planning. So we must have some of the emergency pollution response planning, because incident like oil spilling, in that case we have an emergency team so that we can immediately take action so that it does not get contaminate the whole area. And then water treatment and management strategy. So these are the conventional method treatment plant like coagulation, filtration and chlorination. These are the method used by the PHE department. So they basically use this coagulation, filtration and chlorination method. Then there are advanced treatment methods also like membrane filtration, then UV and activated carbon. These are used in our ROs and all those stuff. And then we should have a sustainable approach by constructing that wetlands, natural treatment systems. If we talk about natural water treatment system, this is our aquifer, because this aquifer material have some property. It dissolves something and it releases something. But if it dissolves the contaminant and it that recharges our aquifer, then this is called the natural treatment system. Now, to have a successful and management plan, we need to have some of the roles of these government agencies, municipality, industries and farmers. So if we say government agencies, our Central Groundwater Board is also a government agency, and under Central Groundwater Board there is a Central Groundwater Authority, if you have heard about this. So Central Groundwater Authority mainly puts some of the rules and regulations on industries, and based on this they identify whether the industry can withdraw water or not. And here we are not talking about the quantity, we are talking about the quality also. Then community participation, education, these are in the village level. So our organization is also doing all this stuff by imparting trainings like public interaction programs. So every year we conduct such program in the village level, so that they can understand what is the scenario of that particular area. And then public private partnership, this is one of the crucial partnership that we need to have a successful development plan. Then in implementation plan, so these are the stepwise development baseline study. So if we say baseline study, this we are right now we are doing a baseline study, because in that baseline study we normally do assessment of the entire area, and after that assessing the entire area we identify some of the hotspot. Based on this, our study intensify on that hotspot, and we do some of the studies to identify the contamination. After that, and identifying the contamination, we go for intervention. So we suggest some of the intervention to rectify those, to mitigate those contamination. After that, we review by again continuing this baseline study. So we again monitor the whole stations, and we identify if the contamination is spread or it has been reduced. Then institutional framework. This is the same one like the first one. Then the funding mechanism. This is actually at administration level, then for challenges and limitations. So I have already discussed about this climate change impact. Then lack of resource and technical capacity. This is one of the main reason, lack of resource and technical capacity, because everyone knows that we can harvest rainwater, but we don't know how to harvest rainwater. So these are the technical drawbacks we don't have right now. So our organization also provides some technical inputs, like how to develop rainwater rooftop rainwater harvesting structures and like that. And second is data gaps and political and institutional barriers. Then the conclusion and recommendations. So we must have a integrated water resource management. If we say integrated water resource management, we are not talking about water only, we are talking about land also, because it depends upon land also, because if we use a part of land to dump our garbage, it will contaminate our water resource also. So we need to have a holistic water resource management system. Then strengthening our monitoring and data system. So this is actually enhancing the number of monitoring stations, so that we have a clear view of the contaminations. And then building a resilience against future threat. If we say future threat, there are future threats like flood and then oil spill. These are the future threats. We have to address this also. Then collaboration at local, national and trans-boundary level. These are, I am talking about the national and international boundaries. So we have to go beyond this trans-boundary level to have an effective management plan for the system. So thank you. So if you have any query, you can ask.